you get these insights now across the workplace, you can really start to help customers decide where to spend their dollars. I'd love to put a room kit in every room, but if there's a room that is underutilized, it's used for an hour or two a day, that's probably not the place you're going to go spend your dollars first, versus the room that's maybe older or struggling, or the audio is not as good, or it's big and used all the time but doesn't have native equipment at all. Let's give people those insights and let them know where to optimize their spend.
Welcome back to the Teams Insider podcast. This week we have a very well-known face in our space. It is Greg Baribault, who leads the HP Poly business. He's about a year into that role. But previous to that, he was 26 years at Microsoft, ranging through Exchange Server, Skype for Business, and Microsoft Teams. So a lot of people in our community will know him from that role as well. Greg takes the time to take us through that journey through Microsoft and some of the experiences there, and also gives us a view on what's going on with HP Poly, what some of the component parts and strategy there is, and also what he's learnt moving from inside Microsoft to into the partner space as well. Many thanks to Greg for taking the time to jump on the pod. Really interesting conversation. And also many thanks to Landis, who are the sponsor of this pod. They provide an excellent Teams attendant console and contact center. So thanks to them for their support. On with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is a podcast I've been trying to line up for quite a while. I've been chasing Greg probably for at least 6 months now, but he's just been getting his feet under the table at Poly HP, as we'll talk about. Hey Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks Tom. Really good to see you again.
Yeah, so appreciate you taking the time, and I think most people in our space will definitely know your name from your time on Skype Business and Teams. But for maybe the one listener who doesn't know you, maybe you just give us a brief intro to maybe current role, what you're doing now, and then let's step back through the Microsoft journey.
Yeah, working backwards. Yeah, it makes sense. So I'm Greg Baribault. So I have the incredible honor to lead the HP Poly business right now. So as I think most people will probably know, it's been a little bit of time. HP acquired Poly, which was itself the entity combined by both Polycom and Plantronics. So it brought together this robust set of headsets and phones and video room systems and just all audio video expertise into HP. And it was just about a year ago. I took on the responsibility to lead the product group for Poly. For that product line. But prior to that, I had spent about 26 years at Microsoft, and all of it in some form or another in the collaboration space, getting people to work well together and find ways to collaborate and break through different boundaries. It started way back in the day on Exchange Server, building those little, they were called DVDs, that you would pop into a machine and load software and
actual software on actual servers with actual versions.
Actual servers and running in your actual data centers. And it was quite some time ago. So working on Exchange Server, building actually voicemail, at the time, voicemail interfaces into Exchange to store your voice data into your inbox, unified inbox, which was pretty wild at the time.
That was my first introduction into the Microsoft world. So I was working at a Cisco partner, doing Call Manager, and lots of Exchange started coming up, replacing what was Unity at the time, and you could plug Unity into Exchange as well. So that was the very first time for me of working in the Microsoft side of the world.
Awesome. It was quite a dynamic time. Lots of discovery. I spent quite a few years on Exchange, did a few other things within Microsoft mostly around communication. Went back to Exchange right at the time we were transitioning into what was called the BPOS, or the online service instance of Exchange, that eventually became Office 365. And so really kind of went through that transformation with the team, leading the calendar effort at the time, and mobility. And that just sort of grew into more real-time focus. So it moved into Link, which turned into Skype for Business, which turned into Teams, and ended up running the Teams Rooms business, and actually creating what is now one of my best partnerships at Poly with Microsoft, of course, putting these great systems, native room systems, into conference rooms around the world, and enabling people to work from anywhere. So that's kind of been my passion and my interest for many, many years. And so now I get to do the hardware instead of just the software, and it's been quite a journey.
That's awesome. Talk us through that room journey, because it really is amazing, from the early SRS, the Skype Room Systems, to now well over 1 million units in customers with the current Teams Room Systems. Take us back to that kind of early days journey.
Yeah, that was a pretty fascinating time of understanding what the key priorities were, and at the time, and it's still somewhat there, but the big focus was around instant meeting start and removing that pain, the friction. At Microsoft at the time, I want to say we had between 7 and 10 minutes on average at the start of every time block of people just struggling to get the room going. And we were measuring that to try to measure how successful the Link Room system and then Skype Room system would be. And that definition of a one-touch join experience, where the thing was actually syncing with the native calendar and showed your meeting and gave you that call to action as soon as you walked in the room to get things just started instantly, I think was pretty transformational. And like with any good product, you have, you define a narrow set of success criteria. And for us, it was that instant meeting start. Like, I want to start a meeting in under 10 seconds. And one touch join was pretty, I think, transformational, yeah, for meeting rooms. So letting people truly focus on the task at hand. What is my meeting about? What objectives do we have for the discussion? Not how do I solve the technology in the room. So that was really a big challenge, and we wanted a consistent experience in every room you went into.
I think that was really big as well. The UI UX matching the desktop experience and the room experience, so you're not coming into something completely foreign when you're coming into a room.
Right. Yeah, it was so important, and people don't want to spend their time figuring out, deciphering new experiences. There was so much muscle memory in the kind of iconic round icons of Skype for Business, with the little red circle on the right, that meant end your meeting. It was important to carry that red circle end meeting button onto the console in the room, because that way there was intuition. Everyone knew exactly what to do, and they didn't have to go and rediscover. So meeting layouts and making that very familiar, how to share content, making that the same icon and the same sort of experience you'd have on your desktop. It really was about taking the things that people adapt to and learn and ultimately love every day on their desktop, and making that familiar when they're in a shared setting with the device that's there in the room. I think that's really what drove the success. That is the nugget. All right? That's the core of what drove success of Skype Room Systems at the time. And that, of course, evolved directly into Teams. New look and feel, new same affinity between desktop and room, but it was a different experience there.
Yeah, it feels like it kind of accelerated that journey, in the sense of when it was Skype, the dominant play was on-prem, so it was like a system that you patched with CUs, like very traditional. And it feels like as everything has gone on this cloud journey, the room has followed, in terms of, particularly recently, with the kind of V2 architecture and how it update, you can flag things on and off in the cloud.
That's right. So for me now, the journey is very similar. So, the past priority was about creating every room to look very similar and not have to learn new things. And that, from the Microsoft point of view, meant working across a variety of OEMs, device makers, to make sure that there was a common experience that was shared between them. My role now is actually quite similar, but I would define it as, for every room that's a Poly room, I want to make sure that experience is consistent and predictable and very usable. So now our effort is about building this robust platform where we have a device literally for every space. Smallest focus room, super wide field of view. You can put like a V12 or X32 camera into a 4-person space. but then highly modularized spaces so that on the same technology, managed the same way, same user experience, you can run a boardroom or an extra large room or a multi-purpose room with all modular equipment.
And you've got a lot of pieces of the kind of puzzle here with the Poly technology, the Poly Room Systems audio video technology, obviously pretty awesome. The Plantronics on the headset side, and obviously HP had some stuff in play as well. So I guess it's part of what you're doing now is bringing that kind of is three parties fair, or maybe two parties, but bringing all those worlds together.
Yeah, 100%. So again, everything we do, we sort of think of it in two different frames. For the end user, what is the employee experience when you think about a common experience that transcends the device form factor even? When I leave the room, what common pieces do I see with me at my hot desk or at home or in my headset? And then through the other frame is for the IT pro or the manager or buyer. What insights can I get? How do I manage and get a sense of the health of the team, the security of the organization through my management portals that also now can look across the entire device estate, my rooms, my headsets, my docks, my PCs. And HP really is the only player really that can give you that full 360 view of every device in the estate now.
Well, talking of that, I'd love to get your thoughts on the Vyoppta acquisition, because that's a tool that I've had customers really love, particularly enterprise customers, in terms of visibility. That feels like a really interesting new puzzle piece to bring to the table. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, certainly an exciting acquisition. Customers are in many different stages of their journey towards native rooms. There's some kind of legacy equipment that they're migrating from. There's rooms that are not equipped well at all, or maybe equipped with a more BYOD environment. And the beautiful thing about Vyoppta is we get that left to right view of every space and get these insights from every space. And it isn't, and very intentionally is not, a Poly-only experience, right? So this will give our IT managers this view of every room and get rich insights from every room, no matter what happens to be in there. But then we can go richer, of course, with diving into the management capabilities that we have with Poly. So now if I see something that's not behaving quite right, or a room that's being used in a way that maybe I didn't anticipate it being used, I can change configuration through my Poly devices. We can even give some smart recommendations of, this is a room that's heavily used. The voice score, maybe we have some new voice score AI technology that's monitoring the voice activity in the room, and maybe you need another extension microphone, or rethink the way these are laid out on the table, given where people tend to sit. So even if it's not that the room is broken, there's some problem with it, it's just not being used the way it was expected, we can get those insights now everywhere and then give you really smart recommendations on how to go adapt your Poly equipment to make it richer and better.
Yeah, I think there's some good fundamentals there as well. Like forever when I was more hands-on on consulting, we were chasing through people not using certified headsets or not using headsets at all, and it still doesn't feel like we've cracked that natively in terms of being able to do that. And that's an area that Vyoppta has traditionally given some quite good insights into. So I like the idea of the visibility you can get as an admin of like there's opportunities to improve the experience for users here, be it
for sure
they're using the wrong kit or no kit.
Yeah. And there's still so many of those out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, the codecs and the software's got a lot better to hide it, but you're still starting from a bad place and like doing the best you can. It's such a shame when the technology's so good not to, I guess I have a bias here being in this world, but like not to spend the money on at least some decent equipment for those end users who are using this stuff very heavily.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
How much do you think that tooling story is becoming an important thing for customers? It feels like there's a lot of OEMs in play in the Microsoft space. And obviously, you've gone from serving all the OEMs to now working at one and focusing on one. But it feels like tooling and management, it becomes an important conversation in kind of differentiating who you choose to work with.
It is. Well, there's so many dimensions to that. Tooling and management, from the perspective of just keeping everything healthy, keeping the devices secure, up to date with the latest firmware and software, the right policies applied, just knowing things break even if not through software or bugs or issues. These are dynamic spaces with people coming in and out all day, bumping things, kicking things. A cable is going to get disconnected at some point, and you need to be aware of that. So there's, the tactical, how do we leverage tools to manage and monitor spaces to keep them healthy and functional. But we've been working towards this sort of higher level of enlightenment for rooms in the estate. You go beyond the basics of keeping things healthy to, are people getting what they need out of them? Are they having impact in these spaces? To an even further level of looking in aggregate across the space. And right now, this is a very dynamic time of people returning to the workplace versus working remotely, and when and how do they return, during what days of the week? Are they working with coworkers? And it's hard to measure, is that successful? Are we having impact by bringing people back? And are people getting what they need now? Are we utilizing our space well? Right? So now you're kind of moving to another level of enlightenment and bringing sensors together with AV equipment, with occupancy knowledge and scheduling knowledge, and you fuse all that together, and you start to really get a sense of, is my physical space being maximized and really leveraged to its fullest potential? Those insights, I think, are just incredibly valuable, and it starts to change the storytelling from our devices aren't just about the employee experience anymore. It isn't only about the layouts that we see on the room and trying to, for us as people selling product, articulate that just through the lens of the end user. Now there's a return on that investment for the real estate manager, for the IT pro, for the CISO, the security teams. You start to really expand the audience of people that gain value from this. And I think it makes the story much easier, and it starts to sell itself.
Yeah, I feel like I've had a few podcasts where we've talked to customers about doing greenfield offices and rethinking spaces, and it feels like certainly maybe in the last 24 months, maybe even shorter than that we're finally having these builds consider IT and experience from day one, rather than the architect builds something nice and now the AV team have got set budget to whack something in afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. The budget question is a great thing to focus on too, right? The budgets are unknown, and you get these insights now across the workplace. You can really start to help customers decide where to spend their dollars. There's no point in I'd love to put a room kit in every room, but if there's a room that is underutilized, it's used for an hour or two a day, that's probably not the place you're going to go spend your dollars first, versus the room that's maybe older or struggling, or the audio is not as good, or it's big and used all the time but doesn't have native equipment at all. Let's give people those insights and let them know where to optimize their spend. It's really an important point.
Yeah, there's traditionally so little actual visibility into that.
Yeah.
Like it's surprising, or it's not if you're in the space. But like the IT team have very little knowledge. The facilities might have some from badging or room booking, but it's certainly picking out if I can only do 50 rooms, which 50 would I do is actually
50,
a harder
right.
question than you'd think it would be.
Yeah. Yep. That's totally true. It's been a very hard problem forever. I mean, since the beginning of tech in conference rooms, really. But our goal, of course, Poly is to make these very approachable and affordable, and hopefully put native kit into every room. Nice. Every room deserves it.
Greg, I'm interested. What's your coming from being in Microsoft? Obviously, you worked with lots of the partners during that journey, but coming from inside to outside and working with Microsoft as a partner, are there any perspectives have changed? Anything is different for you now? What's that feel like? I mean, it's a year in now, so you've had enough time to feel the outside world a bit more.
Yeah, it's more different than I thought in some ways. Less different in a lot of my customer interactions. The problem space is very common. More different in some important ways, though. I definitely developed an empathy that I did not have as a software partner towards some very complicated device making challenges. The global distribution of hardware and managing of SKUs, and that the SKU management problem might be the biggest aha moment that I had, where my expectation on the software side was, it's not that hard. It's another row in a spreadsheet somewhere. But no, that's really a hard problem, and I have a whole new respect for it now. So that's one. The ability to fix things, in the software world, you're pretty blessed with great engineers that you can just say, hey, there's a bug. They spend a couple hours, they fix a bug, they push it, and it's live around the world in by the end of the day. Where in the hardware world, it's not quite that easy. So there's some challenges there that I learned the hard way. But actually, there's some interesting cross learnings, and I think bringing my software background into the HP role here has been quite interesting, and I hope helped the team think about things a little bit differently, and a software mindset that allows us to be a little more agile, move things more quickly, and I think that it's important. I mean, people should challenge themselves in careers to go and try some new things and leverage a skill in maybe a different environment, and see what they can bring and create value there. So
yeah, super interesting. I appreciate you sharing that. It kind of anecdotally makes sense that if you're a software company, everything is software, and you think in that mindset, and then so actually some of this stuff is being manufactured months in advance, and we have to make decisions on chipsets and decisions on connectors, and yeah.
And unringing bells is hard to do with these things. So yeah, it was a new empathy.
And what's your take on this space at the moment in 2025? What are the challenges? What are the hot topics? Like, how do you see this year rolling out from kind of I know you're doing more than just rooms, aren't you? You're doing headsets. You're doing some of the HP peripherals. What's your thoughts on the space?
Every year has been pretty dynamic since the kind of end of COVID, if you will, and I think a couple of things that'll be good trends for us this year. One, I think this is the year where we're going to see more investment in physical space. The questions of return to office have settled down or slowing down. People are ready to turn the crank. It's also the right number of years following what was a global refresh of, like, you could sort of say anyone that needed a headset bought one in 2020.
Yeah.
And 2021, right? The huge spike in peripherals, mice and keyboards, and setting up a home work environment and buying headsets. And they have a life cycle. So those lasted a little while. We're now coming back to where these are coming due again. The devices, just age. And so I think there'll be a kind of another surge that's going to begin. And it's thankfully not all happening at once, because nobody wants every
you could hardly get hold of a headset that time round, unfortunately.
It'll spread out now, which is all very good. But I think we're going to start to see some real material growth over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. For us uniquely, for Poly, 2024 was a huge year for us for portfolio investment. So we refreshed the entire video line in 2024. So right now we have the only device maker, in fact, with a Gen 2 product across both platforms, Windows and Android, and in every single room, small, medium, large, and in our modular technology. So huge year, lots of growth, lots of refreshes last year. So we're in this great position to leverage Gen 2 product across the entire range, going into a year where we expect growth to accelerate. So I think we're super well positioned from a video room. Headsets, we have some news coming soon on a headset refresh that's going to be that's really terrific. That we'll be excited to share soon. So again, kind of lines up perfectly though with this wave. So for us, I'm thrilled. I think we're set up really well for success, and at a good time too for the completion of the integration with HP. So now is when we'll start to see the integration with management tools really start to take off. The Vyoppta coming in, of course, right now. So timing is really kind of perfect. It's the perfect storm of the convergence of product refresh, customer lifecycle refresh, and this sort of better together enhancement across our portfolio.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on the pod and give us your perspective. And it's nice to hear the history of inside of Microsoft and now what you're seeing on the other side. But excited for the future of HP Poly, and hopefully we'll get you on the show again in the future, and we can talk about those new headsets and what's going on. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the Vyoppta stuff because I feel like that's a really interesting opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Greg.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.